Hello, my name is Aziza Chaouni. I'm an associate professor at the Daniels faculty. I'm originally from Morocco, and I head the design office called Aziza Chaouni Projects based in my hometown of Fez, Morocco, and Toronto, Canada. I'm very excited to welcome you to the Daniels faculty, but also to share with you today what I've been reading last. So I'm actually in the middle of rereading The Sandman by Neil Gaiman, who is one of my favorite dark fantasy writer. It's a fantastic read for any time if you're into dark fantasy. And also something that I've just finished on climate conditioning and ecology, which is the catalog for the Bahrain National Pavilion at the Venice Biennale, now currently on show. And it really recast our, understanding and our use of air conditioning in the design of our spaces as architect. Finally, I've been reading all at the same time, just a novel, Hot Maroc, which means hot Morocco, a novel on a young man navigating contemporary Morocco. So as you've seen, I'm a very avid reader. I read almost every day before heading to bed. And this is for the summertime. And while I am at school, I do read quite a lot in the discipline of architecture, urban design, and landscape to prepare for my courses and then for my lectures. So reading fits into my daily life in a routine basis. So I usually read lying down if I can. I read while I'm waiting at a doctor, waiting for a plane, in public transportation. So I'm constantly having a book with me because otherwise I'll be browsing on my phone, and I do prefer to read on actual books, on physical books, since I'm most of the time in front of my computer, and because I do love books as artifacts. So do I take notes? Yes, when I'm preparing for a lecture or for writing a paper that I'm about to publish. But otherwise, I read for full pleasure and joy. Sometimes I do read to discover a new field or a new discipline, or to enter into the world of a new writer. And I like also reading biographies as well. So how do I make connections among different readings? Well, like I've told you, I'm a very avid reader. I read very widely. I read comic books and fantasy novels and architecture books and theory books. The summertime is the time for me to read mostly novels and the comic book, which I've been eyeing throughout the whole year. So the connections I make are, I guess, it depends on which books. I really see reading as a mean to discover new worlds, new universes, new expertises. It allows us to travel without even having to move. I'm very curious, so it really allows me to discover new countries, new architectural projects. It's a fantastic way to also disconnect from the stress of daily life. So I do love reading. So if I discuss books with other people, yes, absolutely. There are books that disappoint me, books that overexcite me. I recommend books to my students, even novels or comic books. And just one last person that I discovered is an Ontarian called Joe Allman, and who's based out of Hamilton. This is one of his several comics called Throwing No on Tinfoil, And anyway, so I love to this. And so, for example, this gentleman I've contacted and to tell him how much I enjoyed reading his comic book. So I sometimes do communicate with the author themselves. Sometimes I discuss the books with my friends or with my family about things that I loved. I do recommend certain novels, and I try also to look for, if I do love a book, to find, other books by the same author. And finally, yes, what's the book that changed my life? Well, that's a very personal question, but I'm going to share that with you. It happens that I love donkeys. I had a donkey as a pet when I was young. And so when I was young, I loved La Comtesse de Ségur, who's a French writer who wrote a book called Les Mémoires d'un âne, The Memories of a Donkey, that tells the story of this little donkey that goes through many hardship and get abused and so forth, and but also travels a lot. And at the end, he befriends this nice little girl who takes care of him. And years later, when I'm in college at Columbia University, we had 2 years core curriculum where we had to read The Golden Ass by Appius, and it is the only ancient Roman novel, and that subsisted until today in its entirety. And it's a fantastic book. It's also whose main character is a donkey. So the main protagonist gets transformed into a donkey, into an ass. And then the whole novel is about many adventures that are highly metaphorical, and many hardships that he has to go through to finally get salvaged and find the salvation. All right. It was very nice to talk to you.